HubSpot drive sales, brand awareness, and growth through the events and experiences that we create. Now, I want to start today's session by telling you a little story. A few years ago, we had just wrapped up a 3,000-person multi-day conference for one of the world's leading tech companies. The feedback from attendees on site was incredible. The feedback from the CEO and the CMO was out of this world. However, when the debrief came around, the feedback from the CRO and head of sales was rather stale. So instantly, we knew that our approach had to change. It became clear that there was a misalignment on the objectives and vision for that event from the outset. So from there, the framework that I'm going to share with you was created. But before we jump into that, can I have a quick show of hands? How many of you here today are currently using events to power your pipeline? Good to know. So that's actually about the same number I'd expect, about 40, 50% of you. So interestingly, a recent survey by Bizabo showed that 97% of marketers believe that events have a major impact on achieving business outcomes. Pretty impressive, right? And then 87% believe that they're absolutely integral, critical to achieving business success. Now, when we talk about events, there's lots of different styles and formats. So you have in-person events where attendees gather at one geographical location. You have virtual events where the event is hosted online and then people are able to dial into the experience remotely. And then you have hybrid events, so very much like today. Some of you are in person, some people are dialing in remotely. Now, the best strategies incorporate an amalgamation of different types of events for different stages of the customer life cycle. That's how you craft the best strategies. Now, there's lots and lots of different types of events, and we don't have time today to talk about all of them. So we're going to focus primarily on external corporate events and internal corporate events. But it's important to highlight that events change lives. So whether it's a business conference, a music festival, or a wedding, when delivered well, events inspire conversations, motivate, and move. When delivered at their best, events can transform cities, can transform lives. Events can change lives. Gonna have to click through. So let's deep dive initially into external corporate events and the types of events that your business can be using to drive connections with your audience. So there's conferences and summits, today being a great example of this, which are focused around thought leadership, networking, collaboration, trade shows and exhibitions. So some companies actually put on their own trade shows and exhibitions, or you can exhibit at trade shows and exhibitions where there's a heavy density of your ICP, your ideal customer profile, in attendance. There's product launches, which are an opportunity to launch new products or introduce new services to clients and prospects. Workshops and seminars or round table meetings, which are focused, they're more intimate affairs, focused around inspiring dialogue, and again, still focused on positioning your brand as a thought leader. And then there's smaller dining experiences, or experiences such as taking clients or prospects to a sporting game, for instance. Now, if you're on a small budget, dining experiences or experiential events are a great way to connect with customers and prospects. So our business, we've grown exponentially over the last few years, but we've just started hosting intimate dinners where we talk about, 2 or 3 key topics for marketing and events professionals. Now, to put things in perspective, these aren't expensive events to put on. So we produced one in San Francisco 2.5 months ago. It cost us just over £20,000, and we've already closed over £500,000 worth of business from that one dinner. So when we talk about the ROI of designing events and the why, it's so important, to have KPIs and be measuring the success of the events that you put on. So why do we run events as marketing and events professionals or as business owners? So driving sales is a key one, right? Powering your pipeline, increasing the velocity of your sales, increasing your sales cycle speed is absolutely crucial. Brand awareness. So if you're delivering a great event, it's a great opportunity, to invite people along and really to be differentiating your brand from your competitors. Community-led growth is a key driver for next year. What you want is your clients, your prospects, communities of people to be talking about your brand. It's an incredible way to drive new business and power your pipeline. Launching new products or expanding into new markets. Again, events are a great tool and mechanism to be able to launch new products or services or expand into new territories. It's also a great way to connect with customers. Now, as businesses, listening to our customers is so, so important. Developing authentic connections with our customers is integral to running a great business. Events are also a great way to provide thought leadership content to show that you are the leader within your space. It's also a great way to drive loyalty. So again, if you're running these dining experiences with your key customers, or you're putting on great conferences where they feel like they're getting incredible content, they're building meaningful connections with your teams and other teams, that's going to build brand advocacy, and it's always going to be a key differentiator for your business. Now, I'm going to share with you the framework that we talked about. So whenever we're developing an event, whether it's for 20 people or 20,000 people, we always start with why. Now, the why, as Simon Sinek would say. And the reason we do that is when producing these events, we found that the number one reason that events don't drive ROI is there's misalignment from the outset. So before you start marketing an event, you have to have a clearly defined mission and vision for that program. You have to have clearly defined goals and objectives. Now, how many core objectives can you have for an event? How many core objectives do you think? Anyone in the audience? When you think about core objectives, you should have one primary objective. That doesn't mean you can't have sub-objectives from the event, but when we're talking about primary objectives, you should have just one. And once you've done that, you can start thinking about the KPIs, the goals and objectives, and clearly defining them and ensuring that all of the teams that are involved are aligned and working towards that same vision. Then you start building out the positioning of the event. Now, behind every great event, there should be a great story. There's so many events on offer to people at the moment. How can you differentiate your experience? So the key that we tell people is focus on solving, not selling. No one likes to go to an event and just feel like they're being sold to. But people do like solutions to their problem. So a key part of this is listening to your audience, understanding their pain points, and then providing content and experiences that help to alleviate their pain points. Now, of course, you're going to have to then build out your event team. And one thing I'd always say is don't under-resource your events. Dependent on the scale, these are some of the key resources that you'll need for that. Then, of course, there's going to be a platform component, dependent on whether it's virtual, hybrid, or in person. That could just be a registration platform, or it could be a full virtual platform or hybrid event platform. Then you think about the promotion. Now, people are getting invited to more events than ever before. So how can you cut through the static? Well, the event engagement cycle starts long before the event itself. So you have to create an incredible event brand to differentiate your experience. You have to have a clear map of what your content plan is going to look like. And then if you have great speakers, I see a couple in the room, Mr. Dan Disney, leverage their networks as well to promote your event. Then you have the production itself. And then for great shows, rehearsals are absolutely key. And then the post-event engagement cycle. So how can you ensure that there's a continuation of the narrative after the event comes to a close? Now, this section is so often ignored by people. And there are two core areas for this. So as a brand, it's so important that you're analyzing the event data that you captured. And that can be, how many people turned up to your dinner, surveys, post-event feedback, NPS scores, and then use those data-driven insights and the analysis from the event to craft the strategy for future events. What works, what didn't work so well? How can we refine our strategy to ensure that the experiences we're creating are going to resonate as much as possible? And then the second part of that is using all of the great content that you've captured from the event to leverage it to its fullest capabilities. The end of your event, just because the event day's over, doesn't mean the event's over. Use all of that incredible content you've created, leverage those connections to their fullest capabilities, and you will see your return on investment from events go through the roof. Now, there's lots of ways to measure success for events. I will make these slides available to anyone afterwards as well that wants them. Dependent on the format of your event, there's lots of KPIs and ways to measure success. So that can be the amount of revenue driven from the event, the number of marketing qualified leads and sales qualified leads, the number of social mentions, the amount of registrations that were driven to the event itself, NPS scores or post-event survey scores, and even improved customer retention. So as you can see, events can have a huge impact on your overall business performance. So now we're going to go on a slightly different tangent. We've looked at external corporate events, different types, and how that they can impact your business. Now, another way to power your pipeline and improve your business performance is running internal events. Now, how many people currently work from home or in a hybrid fashion, so at least a few days a week? So that's most people in the room. Society has changed, right? The pandemic accelerated the digital transformation across many industries, and the way that we interact and engage with one another has changed drastically. And a recent survey showed that 74% of US companies plan to implement a hybrid working model. So that's quite drastic statistics. Now, there's lots and lots of benefits to working from home, right? We no longer have to rush onto a packed subway or tube or tram. We get to spend more time with loved ones and friends. Our work-life balance feels better. Get to spend more time with our dogs, which is important if you love your pets as much as I do. So there's lots and lots of benefits that come from working from home. Now, the caveat to that is there's also lots of challenges associated with remote and hybrid working. Many people feel isolated. Misalignment can creep in. Cross-departmental communication and collaboration falls. And ultimately, your business can be hindered by remote and hybrid working. So why are internal events important to business? Well, it's a great opportunity to instill your vision and your values in your team, to drive strategic alignment, to inspire, motivate, and connect, to enhance staff retention and boost morale, to foster learning and development, build excitement for the future plans about the business, to reward, recognize your team, to promote team building, to promote mental health and well-being, which lots of people are struggling right now. Yes, there's lots of positives to working from home. However, you can feel isolated and disconnected from your team. And ultimately, great internal events improve your company culture, provide an opportunity for brainstorming and insights, and they increase productivity as collaboration and team building go through the roof. Now, what type of internal events are available to us? So you have sales kickoffs, AGMs, company kickoffs, bringing all of your team together, which is important. Now, We work on different styles of these. Some businesses are opting to do these virtually now because they have a globally dispersed team. Also a decision which is largely being driven by things like sustainability and accessibility. Some businesses host them as hybrid experiences now, and some host them fully in person. Then you have company-wide celebrations. So if your business is turning 5, 6, 7 years old, it's nice to celebrate these milestones. Rewards, recognition programs, very, very important. If your team are excelling in their roles, you should be rewarding them, because if you're not, somebody else will be. And those can be quarterly team awards or yearly team awards. All of these incremental changes to your current strategy will help boost productivity, staff retention, and loyalty, essentially. Then there's company retreats. So these can be, local expeditions 1 or 2 hours away. Lots of the companies we work with actually go on, quite fancy ones to Bali and stuff. Not jealous at all. Training events and workshops, really, really crucial and critical for organizational alignment and instilling your vision and values. Board meetings, executive events, and even experiential events as well. So perhaps taking your team on an offsite where they're experiencing something, or bringing great speakers in. All of these moments really matter when it comes to overall engagement in the workplace. We talked about how events can change lives, and incorporating these into your strategy as a business, your internal comms strategy, will make a significant difference to overall business performance. Now, we can't talk about events without briefly talking about the metaverse. So lots of people are calling this the future of events. I'm slightly more skeptical, just to be honest, but I do want to cover it briefly anyway. So a really, really nice definition of what the metaverse is, and I'm not going to read it for you. As I say, I will make these slides available. There's also a reading list where a lot of this data's from. But interestingly, they cite things like Fortnite there and Roblox, which we're going to talk about shortly. There's also another great definition here from JP Morgan, talking about it being the seamless convergence of the physical and digital worlds. But I think we can all agree that society's changing. We saw how the pandemic accelerated digital transformation, globally, and I think we can all agree life will never be the same. So the world has changed irreversibly. But interestingly, the metaverse and metaversal platforms is not a new concept. So Roblox has over 43.2 million daily active users. So what does that mean for us as business owners, marketers, creatives, event planners? Well, it's very, very important, because what we have now is a generation of kids coming through that are already spending the majority of their time on these metaversal platforms. So we have to be responsive to this in the way that we market and communicate with these audiences. So who are the key players I've just listed here? And one thing that I would implore you is to not be afraid of these technologies, but to start exploring them, understanding them, and figuring out how you can leverage them to communicate with these people that are spending time on these platforms. Because even if your prospects, your ICP, your target audience aren't on there today, they will be tomorrow. These platforms are becoming ingrained in society. Now, it's not me that said this. Bill Gates is a lot smarter than I am, and he predicts, within the near future, essentially, all of Zoom calls, 2D video calls, are going to happen on metaversal platforms. He thinks the majority of them are going to happen there. I think this shift is actually going to take more like 3 to 5 years, maybe even longer. But they're anticipating this shift to be in the next 2 to 3 years. I didn't say this, Bill Gates did. If you've got a problem, take it up with Bill Gates. But one thing we can all agree on, I'm sure, is the way that we consume content has changed. The way that we connect has changed. So whether that be events, which I'm going to give you some examples of, travel, things like Airbnb, whoever would have thought about that, Uber, for instance. Everyone always said, don't get in a car with a stranger. Now you're literally going on an app, booking a stranger to come pick you up and take you from place to place. Dating, I think a few of us might have been on Tinder at some point. And then even things like Peloton. Exercise has changed. So what we can see is technology can have a profound impact on the way that we connect. So here's some examples of how metaversal platforms are currently being used. Big business conferences such as Inbound that we work on, or South by Southwest, they're currently offering metaversal solutions. The picture at the top there is a bespoke metaversal platform that we built for one of our clients. So actually, they weren't able to meet in person because of the dreaded C word. So we built a replica of their office, which they could explore in the metaverse. Oh. In terms of remote working and training, again, it's changing irreversibly. And because teams are working remotely on Zoom, brands are exploring how to make this experience more immersive and engaging. So you're seeing Meta, Workrooms, Horizon, they're all investing in this. Even sporting events such as the Australian Open, lots of NBA games, they're investing in providing metaversal solutions in addition to being able to attend in person. Fashion brands are now selling clothes in the metaverse, including Timberland. BMW are even investing in it, so they explored launching new products to people so they could explore this metaversal experience. And then just to push it a little bit further, they had Coldplay play in this metaversal universe, of course. Nike have started offering trainers. So within the metaverse, you can now buy some Nike sneakers. So lots and lots of businesses, as we can see, are doubling down in this space. Now, it's really interesting, even in terms of market research, people don't have to go to places to give their feedback on products. So different brands are using the metaverse and metaversal platforms, digital platforms, to actually communicate and understand their audience's pain points in more detail. Lots of health brands are now investing in the metaverse. Of course, we saw Peloton's meteoric success. And then even education. So lots of educational systems are coming out within the metaverse now. Imagine being able to learn Shakespeare from a digital replica of Shakespeare himself. Might be a little bit more engaging. I might have paid more attention. Lots of concerts, so everyone from Justin Bieber to Snoop Dogg to Ariana Grande are now hosting events in the metaverse. So I only give you all of these examples because traditionally, you think about something like a fashion show or a concert, a big draw of it's being in person. But you're seeing the creative application of these new technologies. So I would say to you, don't be afraid of these technologies. It doesn't have to be in-person versus virtual or in-person versus the metaverse. Think about the creative applications of these new technologies and how you can utilize them to drive more engagement and drive more meaningful connections with your audience. I just put these bits of technology in there because I thought they were pretty cool. Everyone always says that, the metaverse, you don't feel as connected. There's new bits of technology such as haptic gloves, which now enable you to feel things that you're experiencing in the metaverse. Multi-directional treadmills, which are big for gamers at the moment, and even holographic technology. So there was a concert not long ago which was actually holograms of the Beatles. So again, as we can see, this is quite expensive technology at the moment, but it's important to get ahead of it and start thinking how it can creatively apply to your brand. Does it all sound too good to be true? Of course. There's lots of complications associated with data privacy, cybersecurity, and barriers to entry. So although these pieces of software are great and pieces of tech are great, it does marginalize communities from LADCs who might not have the power or Wi-Fi access to access some of these. It does make us a little bit lazier. Rather than going to the park, if you're just sat there on a headset all day or exploring something from the comfort of your living room. Studies are showing that it could potentially be negatively impacting L&D and the way that people communicate. Cyberbullying, of course, can creep in. And an evolving workforce. So lots of people are afraid that things like the metaverse, AI, are actually going to eradicate lots of jobs. Now, the focus should actually be on is also going to create lots of jobs. You need specialists that understand these technologies. So it's absolutely crucial that we're not afraid of this and that we don't see it as a threat, but an opportunity for business. Now, this is from Bloomberg, so they're estimated by 2024 the metaverse will be an $800 billion industry. So as marketers, creators, entrepreneurs, business owners, I think it's very, very important, if it's going to be an $800 billion industry by 2024, which isn't long away, that we start understanding this space. As I say, it doesn't have to be in-person versus the metaverse. It can be, these digital experiences can be supplementary to events. It doesn't have to be a replacement. Great, so now we've looked at lots of different styles of events. So what I want to do is share with you some proven strategies for driving audience engagement. So as I talked about earlier and alluded to, the event lifecycle and engagement process has to start long before the event itself. So how do you do that? Well, you map out a very detailed promotional calendar. And for anyone that is interested, I'll make this available. There's a link to the template that we use. But first things first, to differentiate the experiences you're producing, it's vital to create a powerful event brand. Now, you've seen it with LinkedIn's Talent Connect, HubSpot's Inbound, which was focused on inbound marketing, Salesforce's Dreamforce. All of these names come to us naturally because they were powerful event brands, which can also be utilized as an event hashtag. Then, very important, create a great registration page. So if you have some fantastic speakers, call them out. Get those speakers to promote the event for you as well. If you have video footage from previous years, utilize that footage to promote the event. That is when the experience starts. It's from that first email that they receive, the first promo video they see, the first visit to the website. If you want to drive engagement, you have to be focusing on all of these details. So, again, very often ignored by people, we would say add a call to action register button to the website of your business itself. So on your homepage of your website, if you're getting great engagement there, add a call to action to register to your events on the website. Craft a great email cadence. Now, I'm sure lots of us here have received boring event emails. Booking Manager Summit team done absolutely fantastically. But partner with copywriters that understand how to drive engagement. There's nothing worse than receiving stale emails pre-event. Promotional videos and speaker teasers, again, a great way to start building excitement, that sense of FOMO for the event that you're trying to create. Bonus points if you get your speakers or sponsors to reshare the videos as well. Leverage their networks. Session announcements. So you should be carefully crafting your agenda and making sure it resonates with your audience. And as I said before, is helping to alleviate some pain points that they're suffering. Focus on solving, not selling. Pre-event blogs and infographics, again, great way to start driving engagement. Pre-event podcasts, so there's some great podcasts out there. Focus on your niche, your industry, and it's so worthwhile, getting one of your, whether it's your CEO or CMO or one of the thought leaders from your team on one of the podcasts with big reach will make a significant difference to your brand awareness and the growth of the event. Leverage press, leverage influencers and micro-influencers to drive engagement. You can even create a brand ambassador campaign. Pre-event competitions, paid ads and media, even consider launching a community. And there's lots and lots of different formats for communities. So those can be LinkedIn communities, Slack groups. The list is quite literally endless. Great, so now we've looked at how to drive engagement pre-event. What can you be doing to ensure that engagement is maximized during the event itself? Well, gamification is a huge one. So we want to ensure that the experience is as immersive and exploratory for the attendees as possible. So tying in things like gamification is absolutely crucial. Ensuring that Q&A and polls are involved in the experience as well. It just makes it a far more interactive experience for the attendees themselves. Provide networking opportunities and, For online audiences, it's really nice to provide AI matchmaking, for instance. So the connections that people are making are as beneficial as possible, and it just feels like a more personalized experience. And when there's so many events at people's disposal, it's the personalized experiences, the experiences that have been crafted with a keen eye and attention to detail. They are the ones that are going to drive the best return on investment and that are going to grow year on year. Provide interactive entertainment, again, great way to drive that. We work with some amazing musicians that take requests from your in-person audience and the online audience, which starts to break those barriers, which is really, really nice. Leverage social media, great way for maximizing your reach and ensuring that you're leveraging the event you're producing to its fullest capability. Production quality, absolutely crucial. Glad to see that the team invested very well today, which is nice. But providing high production quality, whether it's virtual, hybrid, or in person, is crucial. And provide speaker coaching. If you have exec teams that they don't really speak on stage very often, or you're using internal hosts, for instance, provide them with some speaker coaching. That and the production quality, so multiple camera angles, in certain cases, or just ensuring that the audio-visual quality, it will make such a significant difference to engagement that it's always worth investing. Then finally, the post-event engagement cycle. So how can you ensure that there's that continuation of the narrative after the event comes to a close? Well, it starts with your post-event follow-up sequence. How many of us here have registered for an event and you've not been able to attend, and you get, a thanks for attending email? That's a lack of attention to detail. The segmentation of your post-event comms is absolutely crucial. There should be different cadences set up for the post-event cycle, dependent on whether they made it or not, perhaps different areas of the event that they engaged with, and then there should be even follow-ups for those people that didn't attend, because if they registered, they're interested in your business, okay? So they're all missed opportunities. Whether it's a conference or you're exhibiting at a trade show or it's just a dinner, if they registered, there's an opportunity there. There's a reason why those people registered for your event. Post-event surveys, again, a really important part of the post-event engagement lifecycle because it ensures that people feel listened to. And then what you do is you take all of the data-driven insights, which are captured during the surveys themselves, immerse yourself in that data, and use those insights to craft a strategy for future events. Create a post-event page. So again, if you're doing a series of dinners, for instance, for those that are on lower budgets perhaps, or it's a series of roadshow events, so similar styles of events in different key cities, either within one country or globally, create a post-event page where all of your content is saved. Capture testimonials of people on site saying how awesome the experience was, and you will see the attendance for these events go through the roof. People like to be involved with cool experiences and feel part of a community. So all of these aspects can help you create your own community. Gather testimonials, post-event blogs or podcasts with attendees are always such a valuable resource. Share your event results. What were the key learnings at your event? Create that sense of FOMO, and make sure people feel like if they didn't make it this time, they need to be there next time. Then, of course, follow-up events, very, very important. So if you have, say, one big event a year, make sure that you're producing regionalized follow-up events with more personalized content, which is specific to that region. And as I said, make sure you're immersing yourself in that data. And the final thought I'll leave you with is this. Always be wondering, what's the future? It was why I wanted to tie in a little bit about the metaverse. So what is the future of human connection? How can I be utilizing events to create meaningful connections with my audience? So always be wondering as a business, what's the future? Perfect. If anyone would like a copy of the slides, you can feel free to scan the QR codes, and then we can connect on LinkedIn, and I'll send a copy over to you. And then also happy to take any questions as well.
Thank you for your presentation. We have one question for you. So in your opinion, what is the best approach to leverage the events to approve the pipeline from everything what we heard about?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, I didn't quite hear.
Yes. So what is the best approach to leverage the events to power the pipeline?
What's the best approach?
In your opinion, of course.
No, of course. So for me, it always starts with that why. So when we talk about powering the pipeline, there's quite a lot to that question when we look at it in detail. So powering the pipeline, is that just bringing in new leads? In which case, the absolute key is going to be alignment. So alignment between sales and marketing. Because if you're running events and the primary focus is to drive new pipeline, alignment between sales and marketing is going to be the fundamental to that. So I would always recommend involving sales in those conversations. So we always like to run what we call a strategic alignment workshop. We gather the CMO, the CRO, the CEO if he can make it, and then senior people from the marketing team, events team, and sales. And the key is to create consensus and focus on collaboration. Because how many people here have heard about, the misalignment between sales and marketing, sales versus marketing? It's that very archaic predisposition. And for events to be successful, you have to have that sales and marketing alignment. And when sales teams feel listened to by the marketing team, they are far more invested in the success of that project itself. So I would always say start with a workshop, brainstorming session, whatever you would like to call it. Involve key players and stakeholders from sales and marketing and create a consensus. Ensure it's a collaborative session. And when the sales team feel excited about the marketing program or the events, your return on investment will go through the roof, because sales will ensure that they're inviting people to the experiences you're creating, ensure they're inviting prospects and leads, and even using it as an outreach tool to new leads. So you will see your return on investment go through the roof if you take that fundamental first step, which it takes an investment of time in the initial stages, but it always ensures that the events are more successful. So yes, it does take an investment of time, but the return on investment every single time is better than if you don't do that.
Thank you. And we have another question. So that will be how to outbound emails should be written to make your potential leads interest in what you are offering to them.
Is this pre-event or post-event? So, sorry, go on.
Did you hear the question?
Yeah, yes. I was just clarifying. Is it pre-event or post-event are we talking about?
Pre-event.
Pre-event.
Yes.
I'd say generally a minimum of 7 is good, and that's what we're set up. And then post-event is based on that segmentation. But pre-event, the more dialogue you can have and the more pieces of content you can create in that promotional calendar that I shared, the better it's going to be. Of course, you don't want to inundate people, so you don't want to be posting about it every day. But generally, we would like to start promoting events a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks out, and that's, the longer lead time's better. You look at the bigger events that Google, LinkedIn, HubSpot do. Sometimes it's sort of can start as far as 9 months out, the actual promotion for that. But I would focus on, if you don't have a big team, I'd focus on quality content. So if you can only manage to create 5 pieces of quality content, that's absolutely fine than inundating people with content that you're not that happy with. So have it clearly mapped out. And I'd say I'd just reaffirm some of the tips that I gave about leverage partners to promote the event. So whether that's sponsors, which you have some of them here today, speakers, other partners, if there's any people within your portfolio of brands or membership organizations that you can utilize, leverage those people to promote your events and your solutions. And again, you will see that return on investment go through the roof. Then, of course, there's things like podcasts, influencers, micro-influencers. Utilizing their expansive networks is going to be really, really beneficial for your business. But yeah, as a rule of thumb, I'd say minimum 5 to 7 touch points. And then post-event, again, that segmentation is key. And I would always say a minimum of 5 to 7 again. The more quality content you can be putting to people, positioning your brand as a thought leader, the better people are going to interact with your brand. And ultimately, that's going to help with pipeline velocity, the amount of closed won business from the events that you're creating. So it sounds like a lot, but I would actually, and this sounds very counterintuitive for a company that produces events, but I would say focus on running less events. Focus on quality over quantity. Focus on getting those cadences right. Focus on the alignment. And as I say, focus on the quality of the experience. And then ultimately, you will see your pipeline and the amount of closed business maximized.
Thank you for the answer. Do we have more questions from the audience, maybe? Anyone? Just a second.
Thank you. With the meta concept, is that expensive? What are the costs and the realities of hosting or running an event in the metaverse?
It's a very good question. So it does depend. So the platform we built, which was a bespoke metaversal platform, pretty expensive. We're talking 900K plus because it was bespoke API integrations with Zoom. However, there are lots and lots of metaversal platforms. The way it works is these are essentially 3D virtual worlds that are interconnected, so you can jump from one to another. If you're using off-the-shelf solutions now, can be really inexpensive to host an event in the metaverse. So then you're just talking investment in comms and like platform licenses, which go from a few thousand. So they can be really inexpensive if you're using off-the-shelf solutions, which of course can be made relatively bespoke themselves, and you can still lock the world, so you can just invite your clients. So it's becoming increasingly less expensive, and there's not many people that are utilizing these technologies at the moment. So it's a great way to differentiate your brand, right? Is if you're one of the first on there, you start hosting your events on there. It's quite a nice solution. So they are becoming more and more accessible, which is great. And it's pretty exciting. As I say, I would never recommend just hosting events in the metaverse. I might be wrong in sort of 10 to 15 years. But using them as a supplementary solution to enhance the experiences in your offering is a great solution for any marketers or salespeople.
Thank you for the answer. Do we have maybe more questions? Nothing. Okay, then thank you for your presentation.